Meet Ruth Hanger, the sconite who has been busy making masks for our town. This video will show you how you can make your own mask at home. But first, a message from Dr. Richard Abbott.
These masks can be very useful in the home situation or as a backup. And Ruth's very kindly been making a few prototypes, and now we have this one, 2 or 3 layers of cloth. They can be rewashed, they can be sun-dried, and it does cut down on waste. But for people that are actually symptomatic or have COVID, really need to consider probably higher rated masks.
First, Ruth takes her material and folds it in half. She then takes her ruler or her measuring guide and makes out the markings of the mask. Ruth measures 20 centimetres by 20 centimetres to get her centimetre square mask ready. She then takes her scissors and cuts along her markings so that she can get the final piece of cloth to be used for the mask. Ruth will now add a further layer to her mask. It is now recommended that masks have 3 layers. Ruth unfolds her already folded 20 centimetre by 20 centimetre square cloth and places another 18 centimetre by 18 centimetre squared cloth in the centre. The next step is adding the wire into the face mask so that the face mask may sit properly on the face. Ruth uses florist wire for her masks and she cuts them at about 10 centimetres in length. Ruth takes the wire, places it in the centre of her original cutout cloth, and then folds the cloth over so that the wire remains at the top folded edge of the mask. She then pins the wire on either side of the fold so that the wire stays in place and can be sewn in. Ruth will now proceed to sew a hem around the border of the mask, leaving a small gap at the top and the bottom of the mask so that later on she can insert the elastic bands or the ties. Ruth carefully folds in the extra 1 to 2 centimetres over the inside cloth in order to create the border to be sewn together. Next, Ruth will create the pleats as seen on the surgical masks. Ruth lines her piece of material that's now been stitched alongside a surgical mask in order to measure the folds properly. She then folds in the bottom half of the mask to create the first pleat and pins it. Ruth then folds the second pleat in and the third, pinning them to the side of the mask, and then measures the pleats to make sure that they are the right distance apart. Ruth says the side of the mask should measure anywhere between 9 and 10 centimetres, or roughly 3.5 inches. Once Ruth is satisfied that the pleats are straight, she will then stitch the edges of the mask so that the pleats remain in place. The next step is inserting the elastic for the side earpieces to hold the mask in place on the face. Ruth measures roughly 18 centimetres for the length of the ties to go on the side of the mask. She carefully inserts the side earpieces onto the top and bottom parts of the mask, feeling her way on the inside to make sure they are far enough inside, and then pins them to stay in place. Ruth will then sew all 4 corners, securing the ear ties. The mask on the left shows what the mask will look like when it is initially pinned, and the mask on the right shows what it will look like after it is sewn. Ruth says that anyone can sew the mask by hand, but it is much faster to sew if you have a sewing machine. And there you have it. Now your face mask is complete.
It needs to be, if you can see through it, it's probably a little bit too light. So these ones, probably a third layer would be very handy. And then with tapes to tie it around the neck and the head, or straps around the ears. These are not a substitute for the surgical masks, as I've said, but they are very handy just to reduce spread of, mainly COVID virus.
Ruth has already made almost 200 masks, and for a small donation, you can pick yours up at the neighbourhood centre.